What's going on, guys? So I recently got 200 mil in every skill. It's finally time. I have been working for this for so long, but the day is finally here. I have one uncut onyx in my inventory. And just like that, there's no more skills left, Pog. Oh my god, it's finally over. And you might be thinking to yourself, but Froggy, you'd have to be some kind of maniac to want to get 200 mil in every skill. And to those people, I'd say, you're goddamn right. I made your voice sound like that. Ha, got him. So now that I got 200 mil in every skill, I'm going to make a little tier list ranking these skills from, I guess, best to worst. Before I get into this, you can see in the background, I have a little bit of gameplay. Just hanging out back here. This account over here is like mining. We got some AFK Greg, and then we're just AFKing some Slayer to try to get Slayer drops. And I haven't got the Abyssal Wand yet in like 50,000 kills, so that's pretty cool. So anyway, let's get right into this. This might be a little negative towards some of these skills, but I honestly am being kind of negative towards them because the developers have been pretty negative at making the skills not dog shit. You know, it's kind of on them. I envision a lot of the skills that I'm pretty critical about not being as bad as they are with only a slight amount of work, or I see them being as bad as they are due to just terrible development. And unfortunately, there's no nice way to put some of the things when you're bringing up those points. So might be a little negative, but you know, who really cares, right? So let's start this out. First up, we have agility. Now, this is an F tier skill. This is the worst skill in the game, and it's really not even close. There's almost no content in agility that is more recent than like 10 years ago. We have what? The Prif course, which basically boils down to putting your camera in a weird angle. So you only have to click one pixel on your screen. So that's pretty bad. You don't unlock Anchronia until level 85, so you can't even do that for the majority of your training time. And they, I guess, technically released that Crocodile course, which is so unbelievably bad that I wish they wouldn't have put it in the game because it just makes agility look even worse. It's very sad that they've done this to agility. Now, I don't exactly know what you do to make agility more useful, but everything that I see making agility useful is put into other skills, right? Like Surge, Bladed Dive, Escape. Those things should probably be agility skills. I mean, that it's one of the few things in this game that would make sense to be under the umbrella of agility, and it's not. I don't know. It's just a weird skill. It's awful to train though, and it doesn't actually give you anything useful for the most part. So yeah, trash. Absolutely terrible. Next up, we have Archaeology. And Archaeology is easily the best skill in this game. Archaeology is like what a RuneScape skill should be. It's like perfect as far as a skill should go. It's got AFK skilling gathering. It's got like the artisan part where you build something. It's got a ton of upgrades. It's got like little mini quests, mini clue scroll type content. It has a ton of really great content. And I think it really is like the perfect skill for this game. And it really doesn't get much better than agility. I guess we'll see what happens with necromancy if they could beat it. But I have a suspicion they won't be able to because archaeology, it's just too good. Next up is combat skills. I'm gonna lump all these together. I mean, and put them in A tier. I don't really want to talk too much about all these combat skills because at the end of the day, it's pretty much just kill monsters and that's it, right? And then you get training. The only one I'm going to put a class up into S tier is magic, and that's because it's not just a combat skill, it's also a skilling skill, so I think magic is definitely better than the rest of these. But again, they're all pretty much the same. It's just kill monsters, get XP. So I don't really want to talk about them too much. Oh boy. Next up is construction. Construction could honestly be an archaeology tier skill if the developers decided to put, I mean, any level of work into it. But I think the work has to be very specific. You have to delete the player-owned house, and you have to give us something that's similar to what the player-owned house should be, but obviously just better. And until that happens, construction's a D tier skill. It's so annoying to train construction. And I think the worst part about construction is the only real updates we've gotten to construction are either fake construction through like the Fort 4 and 3, which you basically build something as a one and done and then forget about it, or microtransaction options in the portable workbench. That's like really all we've gotten for construction as of recently. The only other construction update we've gotten is construction contracts, and honestly, that is some of the laziest content ever. There's like 6 different houses you'd repair. It's sad. There could be so much content under the construction contract umbrella, but there's almost nothing. It's really sad what they've done to construction, considering construction could easily be like an A or S tier skill if they put the work into it. But pretty sad that construction is as bad as it is, but you know, it's another classic Jag XL, I think. Next up is cooking. Cooking is a C tier skill. Honestly, cooking kind of sucks to train. You either make wines or you just like cook food, and both of those are not AFK at all. It's also really bad XP per hour unless you're making wines, and it's kind of hard to make wines because nothing gives grapes in this game. We don't have Zulrah, so grapes come from pretty much nothing. And as far as the usefulness of cooking, it used to be a lot more useful than it is now, and now it's kind of just useless. I mean, most food doesn't actually do anything for the player, especially at like higher levels. Like that losing a 10% adrenaline is just too good for like, or is just too impactful for gaining like a little bit of HP. I think cooking could be a lot more engaging and interesting than it is if they put a little bit of work into it, like most of the skills, sadly. I feel like cooking should be maybe a longer process, and the food you should make should be more impactful. It shouldn't just be like, oh yeah, Rockdale Hills, 2600 or whatever, 2400. I don't know. I just feel like cooking is just very lacking compared to what it could be. So it's a C tier skill. Crafting is in the same boat as cooking, I think. There's really not that much use that comes from crafting. Obviously, at the high levels, you get like Crypt Bloom, Serenic, and Hydrix stuff, but aside from that, it really doesn't give you anything at all. The training methods are pointless. The training methods are like cutting dragonstones or creating useless armors, all of which doesn't actually like do anything for the game. And I think the worst part is the microtransaction options have probably left the skill in the dirt, where otherwise it might not be as bad as it is now. Currently, if you try to train crafting, your only option really is cutting dragonstones. Crafting armor or making battle staves is about the same amount of time of AFKing for way less XP, and all 3 of these options are profitable if you buy the D-stones, the uncut D-stones, at a low enough price, which you easily can buy them at because the game gives a ton of them now. So yeah, I don't know, the training for this skill is a little strange. I feel like there's only one option, and instead of any other options being added or old options being fixed to not be trash, proteins just exist and they don't update it. So once again, another situation of microtransactions probably ruining the skill. And if you're wondering what I think they could do, I think you could combine like 3 or more dragon hides together to make a stackable D-hide to at least make making dragon hide armor viable, right? To make 27 at a time rather than like, what is it, 8 or 9? Or is it 7? I think it's like 7 or 8 actually. But yeah, crafting just not great. Training it could be better, but yeah, just not great. Next up is Div. I'm gonna put Div in B tier. Div got a lot better when they did the Wisp update and World 79. Before then, Div was pretty bad, but now it's pretty good. And the usefulness of Div, I think, puts it in a B tier. I mean, it does a lot of really useful things for the player, like porters, which I'm using over here mining, invention energy, which I'm using on like all of my accounts, and a bunch of other random stuff. So I think divination is just overall a really good skill. Next up, dungeoneering. Now, dungeoneering I think easily could be like the coolest skill in the game just based off of what dungeoneering is. But it was made in what, 2012? It was made like over a decade ago, I think. So it's obviously pretty bad. The content itself is just not great because I think it's so old. And I think it would take a lot of work to fix like Demonheim to bring it up. That being said though, I think if you combined like Shattered Worlds, Demonheim, and maybe Shifting Tombs or something like that into one like really well done piece of content, it could easily be just S tier content, just the best content in the game. But in its current state, I would put it in D tier. It's very lacking. I mean, the only way to train his skill is either buy floors, leech floors, or do elite dungeons, which again, I only think elite dungeons give dungeoneering XP because they just wanted something to be available besides Demonheim. But yeah, dungeoneering I think could be a really good skill. It's just very old and kind of lacking. And it would need like a massive rework in order to make it viable. So I think it's just kind of mid. And until we get that huge update, it's always, I think, gonna be mid. There could be new content that gets added that makes it better, I guess, but yeah. Next up, farming. Farming is one of my favorite skills in this game. It was one of my first 99s, actually. I think strength was my first 99, but I think farming was like second. Farming is a great skill. There's a lot of options to train it through like trees, herbs, obviously player-owned farm, dinosaur farm. Like there's a lot of really good options to train the skill that are pretty low effort and to get pretty good XP. And I think the usefulness of farming is insane. So I'm going to put farming up in A tier because it just gives you so many amazing things. I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with herblore. Without herblore, those amazing things can't be realized. But again, farming is just a great skill, I think. Next up, fire making. This is going to be a weird one, but I'm going to put fire making in B. Think about what fire making is. It's literally like a useless skill. It doesn't, like, it's fire making, and considering that fire making is actually useful with like the incense sticks and bonfire boosts, and you can also train it to get like a bunch of divination stuff with divine forge phoenixes. I think fire making is actually pretty good considering what it is. So I'm gonna put it in B tier. Maybe it would be a C tier skill, but yeah, I think it's pretty good for like what it is. And I think they've done actually a surprisingly good job at making the skill like not terrible to train and give you like real benefits. So I'm gonna put fire making in B tier because I do think they made fire making a lot better than it should be, considering some of these other skills are as bad as they are for what they should be, if that makes sense. Next up is fishing. Fishing is a lot like fire making or cooking. I'm gonna put it in C tier. You know, you catch fish, that's about it. I think fishing has a lot of opportunities to be kind of cool in the future to add like mini games and stuff, but until those things happen, you know, it's just not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. Next up is fletching. And fletching's an interesting one. So fletching largely has been almost completely worthless until Criminal Bolts came out. But once Criminal Bolts came out, it became a really strong skill. Like as soon as Criminal Bolts and G Rico came out, range immediately becomes the #1 combat style, making range just by default really like, or making fletching really important just by default. It's also got a lot better trading options now with Dine Arrows. It's got a super AFK option. It's got a really good XP option, making the Dine Arrow itself. Also make darts for insane XP. So I think fletching is B tier. It's better than like crafting and cooking, but it's not like an amazing skill or anything at the end of the day. Also, I'm just gonna go out and say it. The God Arrows are absurd. They're way too OP for what they are. I don't know why they made these arrows so strong. I mean, what does the one give you? Like 15% flat damage increase? Pretty absurd. Big arrows give you like constant 6,500 poison hits. They're just insane. So I don't know. That's my little soapbox on those though, I guess. Next up is Herblore. Easy S tier. Easy S tier. Herblore works so well with a ton of different skilling options, right? Like there's these power bursts of opportunity for like mining. That's just one example. There's sorcery for rune crafting. It gives you a ton of amazing buffs for combat. It's just all around an amazing skill. And there's really not that much else to say about it. Hunter. Oh boy, Hunter is bad. I'm gonna put Hunter in D tier. Hunter Hunter has the potential, I think, to actually be a solid skill. It could be like non-combat Slayer, but instead the epitome of what we get is like box trapping and big game hunter. There are other options, obviously, like the crocodile thing, but that's super annoying. Charming sprites, super annoying and click intensive. And yeah, big game hunter is, in my opinion, one of the worst pieces of content in this game. Now, you might not agree with that. Let me tell you why. There are 9 different dinosaurs in Big Game Hunter, and every single one of them is the exact same. How can you consider that good content? That is so bad and lazy. It's just, I don't know. It's just absurd that they would do something like that with Big Game Hunter when I think that piece of content has so much potential to actually be good. It's just like ridiculous that it's as bad as it is. All 9 of these dinosaurs are the exact same. Some of them have wings and they just walk on the ground. It's terrible. It really is stupid. I also feel like they just shoehorned the Dragon Maddock into that to make the content like playable, because otherwise there's almost no reason to do Big Game Hunter. It's not good. I don't know. I don't like Big Game Hunter. I think it's a really lazy piece of content, much like construction contracts, where the core concept is cool. If the execution was good, it'd be amazing, but the execution is so bad that it becomes one of the worst pieces of content in the game, which is sad. Especially considering what Hunter probably could be. This could be like non-combat Slayer or non-combat bossing, and instead we get just a bad skilling method, and then you go and AFK it to 200 mil over at the Lumbridge Guard things at Croesus front. I don't know, just a not very well done skill, if you ask me. Next up is Invention. And oh boy, the release of Invention was bad. Anybody who was around on the release of Invention probably knows that they basically fully reworked this skill on like the second week of its release, which I guess tells you just how bad the initial release was. My God, was it terrible. It it made no sense. Oh no, my account died. Unlucky. But yeah, anybody who's there on the Invention release knows that it was just a train wreck. But that being said, they did make it a lot better. So, you know, even though it took them a long time to make Invention better, I think what Invention does is amazing. I think the skill itself is easy S tier. The item sync is so like necessary for the game, and I don't really see many other skills being able to accomplish a item sync on the scale of what Invention did. Invention made so many just completely worthless items like very useful, and gave them a really good use. So yeah, I think Invention, easy S tier skill, really one of the best in the game, even though it took them a way too long time to make it be a good skill. It really is a great skill. Anyway, mining. This skill is, I'm gonna just put it in C tier. I mean, mining is a lot better than it was. Anybody who's mined in old school RuneScape knows just how garbage mining could be or used to be. So it's really nice they made mining great like it is now, or not, maybe not great, but better. I think there are a lot of buffs for mining that make it pretty great. We're very AFK, but at the end of the day, there's like a few good things that come from mining. You have like trim masterwork and like some cheap tools, I guess, and that's like really it. Maybe you could say like the armor spikes. But yeah, almost nothing comes from mining in this game. And I'm going to put smithing in here with mining, and I'm going to talk about these two together because I think the mining and smithing rework, as good as it was for the game, I think it took them way too long and they made it way too complex for what it is. And I think they used that, like the amount of time that it took them to rework mining and smithing, as a justification to not rework some of the other skills that really do need a rework because it took them so long. But then if you look what they did for the mining and smithing rework, they just wasted a bunch of time. It's far too overcomplicated. Mining and smithing are both way too overcomplicated for what should have been relatively simple processes. And then they spent all this time turning all these items into salvage, and I don't think it really accomplished much by besides just adding a ton of gold into the game. I don't know. Like, salvage is more or less completely useless unless you want to elk it. And I think the other items, like a rune plate body, I think would have been a great disassembly item. I don't know. I feel like there were a lot of options that they could have went with, and instead they went with like the most overly convoluted, ridiculous method they could have. I don't know. I just don't like what they did with the mining and smithing rework because it took them so long. But I like the mining and smithing reworks themselves, if that makes sense. Next up is prayer. I'm just going to put prayer in S tier. Training prayer is very basic. I don't know. There's not a lot to it. And the benefits it gives you are so game changing that I think it has to be S tier. It's a lot like, you know, overloads or something like that. And I really do like the what they've done with this skill as of recently with like all the new options for training. The burial powder and the new altar in Fort 4 and 3 as well as Perf. I think there are a lot of good training options for prayer for different types of accounts or players. Rune crafting. How many of you guys tried to train rune crafting recently and then you were like, man, this sucks. I have to do what in order to load all these pouches? How about I go do something else? And the only reason rune crafting is like that is because the devs just can't be bothered to fix it. It's like, I feel like the fixes are like right there and not that hard. Yet they haven't even talked about trying to fix it. They haven't even tried to fix it. It's just weird that rune crafting is in such a dog shit F tier state. Yet it could easily be in B tier if they just made it a little bit nicer. And then I think the worst part about all of this is they say that there's a way too much rune usage in the game, which is probably true because the fractured staff uses a lot of runes. But then instead of fixing rune crafting to make it not horrible to train, they just nerf the fractured staff to not use any more runes. It's weird that they would do that. There are a lot of problems with training the rune crafting skill. First off, you have to be skulled and go through the abyss. Like, just delete that item. Delete the skull from the game, the demonic skull from the game. It's actually just a trash item that is just tedious and runes, makes the game worse for no reason. Just give the abyss the basic XP rate of the skull and delete that piece of trash from the game. That's one easy solution. The next easy solution, make all your pouches, body, familiar, all that stuff load immediately when you load your preset. Currently, when you load a preset, if you want to use all of the pouches, you load the preset, load, it's like, what is it? Like massive, big body, reload preset, fill small, medium, large, reload preset. Actually, it's not like that. You have to like take from your familiar. I don't know. I forget the process. I had it on an action bar once and then I deleted it because you needed 2 action bars. I could go in on the skill even more. It's just really bad and no work has been put into making it better. And yeah, it's just stupid. It's just really bad that rune crafting is as bad as it is when very easily it couldn't be. So again, this is another classic JagXL, just brain dead. And you know, it might be mean to the devs, I don't know, but why wouldn't you fix this? It's such a like fundamental skill for this game. For you to not even attempt to fix it is ridiculous. It's so bad. Just trash development. Next up is Slayer. Slayer's going in D tier. Slayer could easily be an S tier skill with good updates, but instead we get garbage Slayer Masters like the Raptor, which are basically the exact same thing as every other Slayer Master in the game. I don't know why you'd add another copy-paste Slayer Master for a new Slayer Master. It's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Every single Slayer mob we get is just AFKable, just some generic nonsense. We've gotten Abyssal Lords. I like Abyssal Lords as a high-level Slayer monster, but again, it's just a generic high-level Slayer monster. You just AFK. Same thing with Armored Phantoms, and pretty much every other Slayer mob they've released. We don't have any sort of boss Slayer. We don't have any sort of unique Slayer content to RS3, and there's just nothing to the skill anymore. It's very basic when it shouldn't be. Like, I think we've moved past the skill being as basic as it is. So I don't know why it's so bad. I could see Slayer easily being an S tier skill, like a really, really cool skill. Instead, we get like one update for it every 6 months and it's just some shitty Slayer monster. You know, it's just very lazily done when I think if like real work went into making like good Slayer content, we could honestly see some like super cool content with Slayer. So that's kind of a bummer as well. Much like a lot of these skills in the D and F tier, they're just like so much potential just wasted with poor development work. And you know, this might be the company above Jagex just being like, you don't get any funds, go fuck yourself. But clearly that's not happening. Like there are things still happening at Jagex, like they're still updating stuff. So I don't know, very strange. I think it's probably because they just like don't want to update old content. They would quote unquote rather instead make new content. But yeah, you can't just leave all this old content dog shit garbage and expect the game to be healthy for a new player. I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking doing this. Also, we've hardly gotten any new content recently. We've gotten literally 3 pieces of content since Zamorak and the Wildy rework. Some of it's been batched, so it seems like more content than just 3 things, but we've gotten Het's Oasis, 2 batches of that. The Garden of Carid, which honestly you could pair with Het's Oasis as a 3rd batch of that, but I'll just call it a unique piece of content. And Fort 4 and 3, which has been a couple batches. We've gotten 3 things. They could trick you and lie to you and be like, no, but there's been way more updates, guys. No, 3 pieces of content. So I don't know. I don't really know what's going on at Jagex. It seems like they don't have a whole lot of resources and the developers don't know what they're doing. I guess we'll see what happens with Necromancy, but kind of a sad state of all these skills, considering just how terrible they are to train when they don't have to be, you know? It just is what it is, I guess. Summoning, I'm gonna put summoning in C tier. The way you train this skill doesn't really make sense. You just make pouches. I feel like it would be so much more engaging if you trained the skill by using the familiars, but you know, I don't know. Just kind of a worthless skill at the end of the day that has like pretty solid combat and skilling buffs. So I'm just gonna put it in C tier. It could be in B tier. I guess the buffs have put it in B tier, but yeah, it's pretty dumb to train summoning. Like the way you train it doesn't make any sense. Next up is Thieving. Thieving is an A tier skill. You get a lot of really good stuff from Thieving. It's got a fair amount of decent training methods. Like, it's actually not that bad of a skill. Prif elves are really good. Safes used to be really, really good, although they ruined the wilderness safe method, so they're not as good as they were. That method was a little dumb though. They have the Crux Qual Knights. They have like a bunch of random little stuff here and there that all use Thieving. So I think Thieving overall is a pretty solid skill. It's not bad to train and it gives you pretty decent rewards for what it is. And finally, Woodcutting. Woodcutting is a D tier skill. I think tomorrow, actually, they're making a new woodcutting method. So this literally could change tomorrow. But in its current state, woodcutting is really bad. It's the tools are all terrible. The training methods are all terrible. It's just, I don't know. It's not a great skill. There's not really a lot you can do with woodcutting, but woodcutting seems like a skill that needs like a rework like mining did. And again, what I said about the mining smithing rework means we're probably not going to get a full-scale rework for woodcutting. We're just going to get some very simple, here's a new training method. How do you like your woodcutting update now? You can't complain about it anymore, even though the method we got is fucking dog shit. Wait, what? Sorry, little tangent there. But yeah, this is my tier list. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any differing opinions of this, I know this is pretty critical on Jagex, but I think they have straight ruined a lot of these skills, and I think the reason they did that is because of microtransactions. Like especially like agility, I feel like they have left agility a terrible skill because they want to sell Silverhawk feathers. So you know, it's a bit of a bummer that Jagex has done this, but the sad thing is that I'm even able to say this is I would expect nothing less from this company. They have proven time and time again that they are completely out of touch with the people who play this game and the way people play this game. It's just, you know, I would expect nothing less. So, obviously, guys, that was pretty critical on Jagex, and I don't want to be super negative. Jagex is obviously still capable of making a lot of good updates. I think Zamorak is a really good boss, although the way the drops were handled before they updated it was really bad, but I think that was just to artificially boost player engagement, to be honest with you. But they're still able to make good updates, right? Archaeology is just super good. But yeah, it seems like everything we get in between these good updates is just so bad, and there's so little of it that, like, realistically, I would rather have the updates be fully fledged out and completed when they release them, and have like, you know, one bigger update maybe every 2 months or something, and then like one huge update every year, maybe 2 huge updates every year. Like, I don't think we need this constant stream of little piddly content like the Garden of Carid. It's just pointless. There's just no reason for it, and it's such shallow content that is nothing more than the content's released, it's a reward shop, you complete it, and then you never touch it again. I feel like we don't need content like that, and we would be much better off getting more complete content, larger content in one big release, and then maybe reworking some of these older problem skills in the meantime, rather than giving us just pitiful, like, small, meaningless content. You know what I mean? Let me know what you guys think about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that tier list of the RuneScape's 3 skills. If you liked the video, be sure to drop a like. If you didn't like it, you can dislike it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks.